Hello, everyone, and welcome to Core Talks. I'm Denise Posnack Gaffney, coming to you live from New York City. It is Tuesday, August 15th, and it's kind of, a little cloudy and rainy here today in the city, which is nice. It's pretty nice. Nice to have a break from summer. I like it when things change up a little bit. So today I am finishing up my August talks on permission and how important it is to bring permission into wellness. And today I am talking about I've been talking about the 3 ways that we interact with our own rubber ceiling. If you don't know what the rubber ceiling is your own beliefs about how far you can really go when it comes to health and wellness. In those beliefs live maybe a certain weight that you feel you will always be, or you will always be over. Maybe it's a certain type of exercise that you do or don't do. Maybe it's an activity level. I will never be able to exercise. I've just never exercised. It's not my thing. Or it could be a belief about how much sleep you need, or it could be a belief about whether or not you could actually give up smoking cigarettes, or whatever it is. So that is your glass ceiling of limitation that you've established, but I call it the rubber ceiling because we do often try to change that ceiling, and sometimes we're able to push right up into it, and it's pliable. It's a pliable ceiling, but that pushing up into it causes a lot of stress and strain, and we end up just kind of coming back to being where it's comfortable, which is underneath those beliefs and underneath that ceiling. So I defined this concept in my first August talk, and then the second Tuesday, which was last week, I talked about the person who is living. There are 3 ways we're living in relationship to this ceiling, and one I talked to the first talk, and that person is just totally comfortable underneath that ceiling and doesn't try at all because they don't think they can. And the second person is who I'm going to talk to today, and that is the person who is pushing directly up into the ceiling, trying really hard to get past it, but the pressure that's created from trying so hard continually has the effect of bouncing them, or bouncing us back into that place that is most comfortable, and we end up staying there. The third person I talked about last week, and that's somebody who has figured out how to bypass this rubber ceiling, but still believes it's there, and still is really, 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 really afraid of slipping back underneath it. Though this person has sustained, you've really reached your goals and you're sustaining your goals, you still are afraid of it, so you live in anxiety. So I talked about that person last time and how you can deal with those places. And there is a 4th way, which I'm also going to talk about today, of dealing with this rubber ceiling, and that is by removing it, which is very hard for us to remove deep-seated beliefs, but we can do it, and I will talk about that at the end. So we are going to talk about person number 2, and that person is the one, and if this is you, this is probably what your life feels like. So you definitely have your rubber ceiling in place. You have decided in your mind, or you're afraid of, or you just have this set belief that you are fill in the blank, you weigh this many pounds and you will never get past that, or go into a place that's thinner than that if you want to be thin. Or let's say you weigh this many pounds and you'll never gain enough strength or bulk. A lot of men, I know some of my guy friends growing up were thin, too thin, and they actually wanted to bulk up and they couldn't do it. So that can be another issue for them. You you want to be a runner and you really want to be able to run a marathon or be able to run a race, but you really don't, at the end of the day, you're not good at that. These are all your beliefs. These are your rubber sealing beliefs. So you definitely have the beliefs set up. So whatever those are for you, fine. And you have been trying to get past them by following a diet or following someone's plan that doing a yoga challenge every year. You try to do your yoga challenge, or you have ideas from high school or college about what it means to get fit. For example, you buy a gym membership because that's what you believe and that's what you've been taught is the way to get fit. But you go to the gym and you go to the gym every day and you aren't seeing the results you want to see. And by the way, even to get 1 inch further down, to move yourself forward into the goal, towards the goal you want to be, takes so much work. You're not seeing results the way you want to see them. And so you are pushing directly up in that rubber ceiling. And yeah, you have surpassed the ceiling. You weigh a little bit less than you want to weigh. Than you think you're always going to weigh. You may be working out a little bit more, whatever it is, or your energy's a little bit higher, but the amount of work you're doing to get to that level is, it's not worth it. It creates so much stress. It creates so much limitation. It's not fun. And at the end of the day, it isn't sustainable. And so you end up back, even further back, even lower than your rubber ceiling. And it's a cycle. And you keep trying and trying and trying. It's not working. I have a friend, actually, I talked about the Whole30 diet, which I do the partial 30 just as my regular diet. But a couple friends of mine were going on this Whole30. And at the end of the Whole30, he commented, this is his first time doing, he said, yeah, I felt a little energy increase. I definitely felt like I maybe lost a few inches, but I didn't feel as great as I had expected to, given the amount of structure and work I had to do in those 30 days. He just didn't feel the result. And that's a pushing straight up into our rubber ceiling. And so what is so if this is you, right, then you're stuck in this pattern. And what do I have to say about that today? I want to talk again about the concept of permission. So the permission that you are going to give yourself, if this is you, is to experiment. To experiment. So the first part of your experimentation, when you conduct a new experiment, you stop what you're doing. And maybe you stop it for a minute just to let your body rest, do whatever. And then you start a new experiment. And when you start a new experiment, that means you open yourself up to maybe a new way of exercising, a new form, a new diet form. And you get into experimentation mode and you start to experience a different way of doing it, of trying it. Now, I'm going to say this is not necessarily fun, okay? Meaning it's not going to be, I shouldn't say it's not fun. I think it's always fun to try a new sort of diet or a new exercise routine. For me, it is. Maybe for some of you that sounds like chaotic and crazy. But the truth is we need to try different things, different models, to find that model that works for us, that's usually a very unique, individual model that nobody else is following. Okay? And by that, I mean that in order for you to figure out how to eliminate that pressure of pushing, and attain the wellness that you want, you have to find your signature, your unique fingerprint of wellness routine or ritual or wellness way, however you want to see it, wellness path. And it's not going to come to you through a book or through one instructor or through one studio or one type of training. It's going to come to you through trying different modalities quickly. It's almost like dating, quickly realizing, getting good at realizing, you know what, this isn't good for me, but this is, and adopting those, giving yourself the permission to decide what is good for you, and then to bring that in and move forward with it. Okay, so I'm going to give you some examples of, or some little tactics you can use to deal with this if this is your problem, you feel that stress and strain. Okay, the first is to do some research. We're going to talk about diet for a second. Do some research on a nutritionist who sounds like someone who might align with the way your philosophy in life, okay? So I've worked with my share of nutritionists in the past, and I've had nutritionists who have worked with other people, and I thought, wow, you know, I love what they're doing. Oh, that person seems to be so successful with their weight or whatever it is, and I'm gonna work with this person. And at the end of the day, that was there were aspects of working with this nutritionist that were perfect for me, but if I stuck to this nutritionist's plan, I wouldn't have been happy, because it would have felt like, it did feel like that rubber ceiling. There were so many rules. I really was scared to go out to eat, et cetera, but the point is, there were things I could take from working with this nutritionist, and I had to step away and say, you know what, that isn't for me, but I'm going to take those things. But initially, I looked at this nutritionist as somebody who I thought, it wasn't necessarily somebody I would have chosen. It wasn't somebody that I would have chosen just because of resonating with me. It was because I thought this person was good with other people, and maybe they'll be good with me. But I did have to conduct the experiment. So I want you to look, maybe do some research, and start following someone who you think has a similar value system as you do. So one of the important things for me when it comes to food is organic, non-toxic, a really like holistic view of food, not just calories or, you know, limiting food. And so as I'm looking at nutrition research, I'm going to follow somebody who holds those same beliefs. Another thing I encourage you to do in terms of movement and exercise is to experiment with a different type of movement than you think you should do. So for example, I was with a friend a couple weeks ago, and he's young, and he's never really found a sport that he likes, and so he's not really active, you know, in a traditional way for a young man. What a young man was taught is the way to be active. For example, you should be playing football, or you should be playing soccer in high school, or whatever it is, and that really wasn't his thing. So the other day we were on this bike ride in nature, and he hadn't had a lot of experience on a bike on a trail. And he realized, wow, this is awesome. I feel peaceful. I feel like I'm connected to my body. And he was super excited about it. And that is the kind of activity that for him, he will likely get involved. He could get involved in a he's in college, so he could get involved in a club that bike rides, or maybe he finds a group, he signs himself up for some long bike rides. This is something he didn't know that he liked, and he previously would have been, hasn't been that physically active, but found this, and we'll see if he actually follows through with it. But this is the kind of thing you want to do. You want to open yourself up to different activities that maybe you've never tried, and that maybe you've had like a thought about. So dance is one that comes to mind. Many of you are very afraid of dance. Oh, I don't know how to dance. I watch Dancing with the Stars. It'd be so fun if I could do ballroom, but I can't dance. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm klutzy. I don't have any rhythm, blah, blah, blah. If that's you, then you should sign up for a ballroom dance class, and then sign up for a cha-cha, a salsa dance class, and then maybe get a private teacher to teach you a little tango, and try it and see if you have a nudge of something you wanted to try, but you've limited yourself by saying, I can't do that. Then I'm going to encourage you to go and find a class that's new, something experimental, and you never know. You might start dancing once a week, turns into twice a week. Now you're going out at night, dancing at night, and you are naturally well because you are physical and you weren't physical before. Another thought on the experimentation would be something like even a CrossFit class. I know I have, 2 fingers crossed. I can't do that because I'm holding onto the phone, but keep me away from CrossFit. I'm going to hurt myself. It's not, that's something that maybe I need to try. I don't think right now I've found a really nice wellness balance for myself, but you know what? Maybe it's a thing that would be great for me. So that's, again, stepping out of your comfort zone, opening up to physical activity that is slightly interesting to you, but you think you can't do it, or opening up to physical activity that's a little scary for you, but you're just curious about it. So I want you to be experimental. I want you to be curious. I want you to try new things, and run the experiment. When you run an experiment, you need to do it for a certain amount of time. So it's not going to do you any good to do one class unless you go in and you absolutely hated it, or you hurt yourself. Those are 2 reasons to maybe not go back. But just like dating someone, giving it a little time, giving it a little chance to really get to know it before saying yes or no. So for that second person in the second level, here's your rubber ceiling. You're pushing up so hard because you're trying things that other people told you about, or you thought were the ways to remedy this rubber ceiling. I want you to stop those, let them go, be experimental about what other ways of getting healthy. And then after you've conducted your experiments for a year, 2 years, then start picking and choosing and saying, yes, okay, this works for me. This type of eating really helps me. This type of exercise is something I want to do all the time. I just love it. Going to bed earlier, another great experiment. Oh, I feel so much better. Not spending as much time drinking less, all of these things. Just experiment to see what helps your mood and your the feeling of wellness. Okay, so that concludes this concept of permission with those 3 ways of being in relation to your rubber ceiling. Now, the 4th way of being in relation to this rubber ceiling is to give yourself the permission, and this one is very, very important, and this one is the ideal one. And I would like to be in this place, and as I'm giving you this, sharing this with you, I recognize that it is something I need to try to work on in myself and my life. And this does it all, and that is that It is possible to remove the rubber ceiling completely, to not be responding to it, to not be limiting ourselves with it or pushing against it or being afraid of it, by letting go of those beliefs that we are something. So if you study any meditation or Zen philosophy, this concept of identity, of the creation of the mind, the way we believe our life is comprised of beliefs about ourselves, and they're not necessarily true, and they're just really created. So to know that you have created these beliefs about who you are, and if they are changeable things, like for example, you haven't really created, like I haven't created a belief about my hair. I have hair, it is growing in. That's not a belief. I can believe that my hair is thin and maybe stringy or something. That's a belief, but that belief is a judgment versus believing I have hair. You do have hair. There are things about yourself you can't change, right? But these beliefs about what your body structure is or will always be, or your energy level is or will always be, those beliefs, again, can be removed and can be changed. And so I highly recommend a couple ways of dealing with releasing beliefs about yourself have to do with ritual. And I have found in the past to when you can look up any kind of ritual for releasing beliefs. I'm going to give you two that I've done in the past. Taking that sort of movement slash like a step, a process of looking at the beliefs and then doing something physical that symbolizes a release of the beliefs is, I think, a key step to allowing yourself, to giving yourself the permission for these to go, right? For these to dissipate, be totally, I don't know how to, hello, whoever's here, I can't, it says swipe left to reveal comments and reactions, which I can't do. Okay, so I'm just gonna keep going. So two ways to release beliefs about yourself that you no longer want to be hanging over you. So this is to release this rubber ceiling that you've created. Two rituals that I like to do include, the first part is the same on both of them. So you take a piece of paper and you write down all of these beliefs, okay, about yourself. So at the top of your paper, I would like you to write my wellness rubber ceiling. My wellness rubber ceiling. And then under that, you will write all of the things that you believe about yourself that have to relate to that. So I will always weigh 140 pounds or 180 pounds or 250 pounds. I will never be able to release weight. I will always, I will never be a fast runner. I will never be able to run a marathon. I will always spin out and get anxious and get tired and get sick if there's too much stress in my life. I will always, I'm the type of person who, I'm no good at, I can't do high endurance sports because I'll hurt myself. I have back problems. I have neck problems. You just write all of these things down that you believe about yourself or you currently experience. And you want to write them on separate lines. And then you want to cut each one of them out so you have them on a piece of paper. So now they're on an individual piece of paper. So, ritual number one, you need a little area where you can create a little fire. So you need a candle, and you need to place like a bowl full of water that you can take that piece of paper that is the belief and burn it and then put it into the water. So you're going to take your first piece of paper that says, I am always tired and I'll never have energy. And then you take that paper and you say, I release this belief. I no longer allow it to be part of me. I am letting this go. I am allowing this to go. And then you put it in the fire. You start to watch it burn. Watch your fingers. Don't burn your fingers. And then before, obviously, your fingers burn, put it in the water. And you want to allow it to burn as long as possible and consider it done. If you don't want to play with fire, then what you would do is you would take those beliefs and you would take a bowl full of salt and a bowl full of water, a little, pinch of salt or an amount of salt, maybe 2 tablespoons or something, and water. And then you take the beliefs and one by one, every belief you say out loud, the belief, and then you take the salt and you say, I am releasing this belief about myself, and you allow the salt to go into the water and you stir the water up a little bit and allow it to dissolve. So those are 2 ways you can do it, with salt and water or with fire and water. I like fire the best because you can really just watch these things go away. So you start with that symbolism, and once you have released these beliefs with your ritual, it's really good to then write down and bring in, collect, gather, however you want to do it, the new beliefs about yourself that you want to bring in, because now you have a vacuum you have space created, and it's great to fill that up with the positive beliefs you do want to bring about yourself. And those I encourage you to put, somewhere in your medicine cabinet every time you're brushing your teeth, every time you're getting ready for your day, to look at those beliefs. I am beautiful in my body. I weigh the perfect amount. I have so much energy and life and health. My body is strong. My body is stronger than it's ever been. I am able to accomplish anything with my body. I am smart in my body. I am physically talented. I am a dancer. I am an athlete. I am the healthiest person I know. Putting all of these beliefs down, putting them somewhere that you can see them and read them every day. Okay, so permission to experiment, permission to let the belief go, let your rubber ceiling go, permission to relax and let yourself off the hook. That's for our people living in anxiety, like myself, with their rules. Permission to know that you can absolutely become the healthy person that you have in your mind, in your vision. You can. That's where we start, giving ourselves permission to become that person. So any questions, any comments, please reach out to me. You can email me at Denise@MyBOD, MYBOD wellness.com. I love this topic, would love to continue talking about it with you. And for anybody who mentions Core Talks in the month of August, I'm still giving a 20-minute free online live session with one of my teachers, private Pilates session. If you mention Core Talks, share them and email us about it. Okay, so thank you so much. All of these talks are recorded, so if you're coming late, you can go back and watch this. And thank you so much. I will see you on Friday. Friday morning, we're doing a 9:30 a.m. Eastern time workout. Last one for the summer. And then we'll come back in the fall. Okay. All right. Have an awesome day. Talk to you later. Bye.